This experience is based upon rivers and the authentic context of rivers flooding, which has been an ongoing problem in different locations across North Wales, especially in Llanrwst, St Asaph, Bangor-on-Dee or Dyfi Bridge, for example. There may be a more local river to you that has had problems with more localised flooding in your area. Flood levels and alerts can be identified on the Natural Resources Wales website or through local media. Children are fascinated by flowing water, especially at the seaside, creating channels for the seawater to flow into a pool or building dams across a flowing stream. For children who have not had this first-hand experience, it can be provided by children building a water channel flowing downwards into a container, possibly a large builder's tray, and the water being allowed to overflow, or recreating a river in the sand tray. Children enjoy building watercourses and seeing water flowing from one area to another. This experience builds upon this activity. This is a way to initially begin the experience within the context of the water cycle and/or rivers, and builds upon their previous experiences within the water tray or outside with their use of loose parts and building structures to move water. A rivers course can be made using silver foil or another similar material, and by using large loose parts to create a local farm, village or town which the river flows through, which is affected by the heavy rainfall. There will be a need to use a blend of approaches for children to gain a greater understanding of this experience, which may include the direct teaching of the water cycle or simply the flow of a river and what can or has been done to prevent flooding. For example, recently the National Trust has been putting in preventative measures in the watercourse in the Upper Conwy Valley to slow down the flow of water before it reaches the town of Llanrwst during heavy rain. They have been widening riverbeds and increasing riverbed materials such as stones. Researching and exploring flooding will need to be explored firsthand on a smaller scale for children to build on their knowledge and think creatively and critically to solve the problem. For younger children, it could be simply exploring how to prevent water from flooding a fictional character's home. Children will be challenged with solving the problem of preventing flooding of their own created town or village. The challenge will build positive relationships within the children as they will be determined to prevent the flood. Trial and error will be a particular feature, and children are able to reflect on what works well and what needs to be improved, which will enable them to achieve the desired outcome. Brainstorming, exploring and discovering, children can work collaboratively using digital tools such as Jamboard to collaborate together and share ideas. There could be a site meeting with a lead engineer, river specialist, flood defence specialist who investigates specific areas, taking charge of their own learning, setting targets, whether to reduce the amount of water or slow the flow of water down, and applying their numeracy skills will help children to set their own targets in the measurements they take and measure the overall success of the solution. A supportive adult will need to be available to facilitate the learning within the experience. They're on hand to support relationships, ask questions to support the problem-solving process, and encourage creative and critical thinking to reach a solution. To ask children to be reflective on what has worked well and what could be improved, and to support following up with those suggestions. With younger children, the adult's role is to encourage communication, helping to discover, exploring with them, and scaffolding their ideas will help them to develop these skills. The creative process will be thinking of solutions to the problem and then using critical thinking as to what materials would be best suited and how to position them. This process between creative and critical thinking will be cyclical as they need to refine and improve the solutions, helping to sustain their thinking and concentration, leading to continuous effort. This experience will enable connections to be made from within and across areas of learning and experiences. In this case, humanities, science and technology, and health and well-being. The Humanities What Matters statement, our natural world is diverse and dynamic, influenced by processes and human actions. We are nurturing curiosity, which can help learners understand and appreciate how and why places, landscapes and environments in their locality and elsewhere in Wales, as well as the wider world, are changing. This will help develop the interconnections between humans and their environment, both in contemporary and historical contexts. Consequently, learners will be in a better position to make connections between the past and present and to consider possible futures. In this case, climate change and increased rainfall, or the location of houses and roads being built on or near floodplains in a simplified context. This approach will encourage inquiry, discovery, curiosity, thinking critically and reflection. It also relates to the What Matters statements with science and technology. Being curious and searching for answers is essential to understanding and predicting phenomena, and design thinking and engineering offer technical and creative ways to meet society's needs and wants. Also, within the health and well-being What Matters statements, our decision-making impacts on the quality of our lives and the lives of others. This experience could be further explored by creating natural structures, investigating materials, both natural and man-made, that hold water, and other suggestions the children may come up with. Cross-curricular responsibilities which could arise from this experience could include numeracy skills, such as taking real data of rainfall from the affected areas used as a context, measuring the time it takes for the water to flow down the course, and using different amount of water to see how much rain would affect the town in their own model, quantifying the amount of flooding, deciding and using their own scale, comparing two different methods of flood prevention, either by time or amount of water, to see which prevention works best, is a real opportunity to apply their numeracy skills. Literacy skills which could arise are flood notices and warnings to be broadcast, communicating using the vocabulary and language of rivers and flooding, and instructional writing too. Realising the four purposes within this experience helps children to be creative and enterprising, involved in the wider aspects of climate change and the changing human features of a landscape, therefore becoming ethically informed citizens of Wales. It will help children seek and enjoy challenge, build a body of knowledge and the skills to connect and apply their knowledge in different contexts, question and solve problems, therefore becoming ambitious and capable learners, taking risks, thinking creatively, being creative and enterprising contributors.